tonight, and the crowd really can anticipate something special is going to happen here.
Yes, David, out on the parade lap, you look at the cars on the track, there's a couple of wonky ones out the front, for the want of a better word. Out the front there, the orange car, Bill Warner, a legend, on the very first imported modified from America. Bill Warner in the car there tonight, and alongside in the number 1 car, that's the Australia 1 car, that Gary Rush drove to his very first Australian sprint car title some 20-something years ago. And Sid Moore has brought that car back out for us tonight. He's driving it there. Gary Rush won back in 1978 at this track in that car. His second in a row championship.
Real piece of nostalgia. The illuminated sign on the infield says, "Let's get ready," and that's exactly what we intend to do as we bring to you the Australian Sprint Car Championship for 1997 on Sports Australia exclusively. And let's now take a look at
the Schnee of Gary Brazier, the 21 car, and on the pole, the Maxim of Kerry Madsen. Whew, what a race.
Okay, we're set for a start. Buckle up your seatbelts wherever you might be watching. The Australian Sprint Car title for this year, 1997, is coming your way. Big field, 700 horsepower apiece, and we are racing as the crowd stands as one through turns 1 and 2 the first time round. Will they get through there safely? They negotiate the first part of this 35-lap journey without any dramas. And look at Gary Brazier sprinting very quickly. He's blown them away. Brooke Tatnall's got a problem. On the left-hand side of your screen, the shell entry. Brooke Tatnall, who is yet to win the Australian title, will be filthy. It looks as though his right rear tyre has gone down.
Yeah, he's pointing madly to the crew there to get the new tyre, and it's on, and he's ready to go again.
And now it's the race restart. 35 laps still ahead of us. They haven't yet completed one full lap in the national title. We go racing again. Will it be Brazier again? Kerry Madsen on the inside's got other ideas though. That's him in car number 29. He and Brazier drag race down the back straight. This is a real war between these two currently. Madsen there gets hooked up in some rough stuff, and that's all Gary Brazier needed. He said, "See you later, Kerry, catch me if you can." Yeah, that was very tight. They ran wheel to wheel down the back straight, and they both went in there knowing what the track was like. Madsen likes it rough, he likes it slick, and he's got the track, but they had to go. One had to go, and it was him, and Brazier shot to the lead. I'll tell you, Brazier's going to be hard to catch now. There's the driver of car 44, Joel, not the youngster, getting himself into trouble. Race restart again with about 33 laps remaining in the Australian title. All right, Brazier once again, he's jumped. Murphy has moved into 3rd place, and he's starting to come up on the inside of Kerry Madsen. Is there a problem with Madsen? Robbie Farr out of 3 has dropped back to 4. He won't be happy with that, but what about Tatnall? Up in the top 10 there to start with, in fact top 8, and now had to come from the back of the pack. If he's going to do anything, it's Parramatta tonight. It'll be a miracle, Stuart. I know he's a great driver, Tatnall, but when you've got the calibre of Gary Brazier and co up ahead of you, you can't afford to give them 18 spots head start. Here's a good battle now with Johnny Shaw in the Caldex Haviland car, Gary Rush in the Castrol car. Rush staying down low, not moving up high, and meanwhile Johnny Shaw, he's trying to the outside line, and cars, well, they're all trying all different lines. And there's Todd Wanless, the defending national champion. He's on the move, David. Look where he's already in the race. Pretty plain-looking car, but nonetheless it goes a lot better than it looks. That's Mick Rowell right behind him, his fellow banana bender, both from Queensland naturally, and this field now starts to spread out. Gary Brazier, that's your race leader on screen. He's already won 2 Australian championships. Would dearly love to make it crown number 3. Of course, his father, Steve Brazier, a legend in this sport. Who will ever forget the battles of Steve Brazier? And the man that's driving the Castrol car number 2 in this race, he's still around racing actively. Gary Rush, here he comes now. Well, Gary Rush is still racing, and I thought Steve Brazier should still be racing today too. He gave up his great career to build a business and set up the family, and now he's putting all his efforts into his son. So he's in the cockpit driving along with Gary as well. Watching the Kings with Wings negotiate the quarter mile here at Parramatta, and Gary Brazier on the left-hand side of your screen doing it better than anybody. The track is really starting to slicken off now, which is fair enough with a big field like this. Hard racing over 2 days in different weather during the lead up to it. But there's one thing you've got to say about the track. It doesn't matter what it's like. It's the same for everybody. Yes, it is. And look at Brazier. He's sticking to the outside, as is Madsen. They've already put a lap on, or Brazier's put a lap on Brooke Tatnall, and that has shot Brooke Tatnall backwards now. He's no hope in this championship. What a shame. Great driver, Brooke Tatnall, in the Shell Helix car. Yes, of course he is. He's almost had a mortgage on the Australian Sprint Car Series, which crosses Australia, but this one has eluded him so far, and I know it's something that cuts him deep inside. He wants to win the Australian title. This fellow here, Gary Brazier, Brooke Tatnall's fierce arch rivals, already done it twice. John Shaw a problem, the front left wheel, in fact the front end on that car has collapsed, and we'll see another race restart in the Australian Championship.
Well, it bunches them up, gives everybody another shot at Brazier. There's Madsen there, and I thought he would have given a better shot at that one at the start. Now look at Murphy coming back inside there. Wheel spinning coming out of turn number 2. Murphy in the green car. Very little saddle time this year. Has been working his pit crew for Steve Kinser, and then Kinser giving him the car to run for the rest of the season. And here he is running 3rd in the 35th Australian Championship.
Not the first time that he spent time crewing for Steve Kinser. Not a bad ploy if you're a young bloke watching our telecast of the Australian Championship and you want to learn from the best. Next time you hear Steve Kinser's coming to Australia, make sure you drop him a line and get yourself a spanner.
Yes, not only does he crew for Steve Kinser, he listens. But here's Todd Wanless. Todd Wanless blew a motor in time trials yesterday, had to come back with no time, and he's doing a great job. It put him right out of the ballpark yesterday with that no time, because the time points were so important, and he struggled. But look at the drive, 19th position. He's doing really, really good.
Stuart, you've got to say this bloke is struggling in the Castrol car. Gary Rush, the 10 times winner of this event, the greatest speedway competitor Australia has ever produced. It's not happening for him tonight. He's going backwards.
Well, he just got past Robbie Farr, so he's come forward, and Robbie Farr's now gone back in front of him. So those two are having a great dice. And but you're right, there's not much happening for Gary Rush here tonight.
Now we go back towards the pointy end of the pack, and Kerry Madsen in car number 29 involved in a battle of his own. It's really to no avail, because the race leader, Gary Brazier, is a mile in front at this stage of proceedings, but anything's possible. There's a long, long way to go in this one.
Well, the fat lady hasn't even started to croak at this stage, David. But Madsen, I thought, should be a lot further forward if he's going to be any sort of contest in this one. He should be right on the hammer of Brazier. He loves this type of track, and Brazier does too. They just love the slick tracks. I don't, but they do. And I just thought Madsen should be a little bit closer right now if he's going to throw any sort of challenge to Brazier, because if it goes wide from this point, it's going to make it very, very difficult for Madsen to do anything.
Brazier now switches lanes in car 21, the Mopar entry. Looks to come down now on the inside of the Shell Helix car, driven by Brooke Tatnall. Mick Rowell, the Queenslander's in front of both of those. Rowell does the right thing and pulls over onto the low line of the circuit. Brooke Tatnall, don't forget, had that flat tyre at the end of the first racing lap, had to rejoin the race at the back of the pack. That was the end of his title aspirations for this year. He does the right thing and lets the considerably quicker Gary Brazier move up on the inside. But your heart does bleed for Brooke Tatnall. He deserves it, and one day he will win it.
Yes, well, you've got to remember he hasn't got his first choice tyre on, so he'll be struggling. He'll be trying to conserve the tyre, obviously a bit softer. The tyres they'll choose, the top guys will finish the race with plenty of tyre because they've got a good tyre for a surface. It might look really dry and slick, but it's not tearing their tyres apart.
At the moment, Kerry Madsen, Stuart Telfer, is clinging on to second spot, and if he can stay there, that will be a great result for a young man. Runner-up in the Australian title. He's had some up and down luck. In fact, he's been up and down like a toilet seat in his career over the past 5 or so years. But if he stays there, that's a great result for a family that try very hard.
Yes, as I say, he's a no-frills racer, and he's not all that far away, as we saw that camera shot there. As Brazier came off turn 4, Madsen was still in turn 3, so he's not that far behind, and the challenge is still there. Madsen won't have said, I ain't going to win this yet.
By the way, fourth on the circuit, I beg your pardon, third on the circuit is the driver of car 4, Peter Murphy, in that green entry, sponsored by O'Brien Aluminium. And Ron O'Brien, one of the great supporters of Speedway and motorsport in this country, deserves a big crowd and a good result for his car tonight. A great bloke, and we thank you for it, Ron O'Brien. Watching the race leader now, Gary Brazier. The laps continue to tick away here in the 35-lap Australian Sprint Car title for 1997. They make it 11 laps remaining, and Gary Brazier now drag races down the back straight with Skip Jackson.
Can I tell you somebody that is on the move? Brett Loadsman in a 10-year-old gambler car has moved from 10th to 4th place. Brett Loadsman's on the move, and he's chasing Peter Murphy in the Squirt and the Dirt car.
Of course, Stuart, the slick track would help drivers like Brett Loadsman, who doesn't have the fortunate budget or the fortunate position of the mega-dollar engine. The slick track is a real leveler.
Yeah, well, it does. You've got to use more throttle control. It's not a horsepower track right now. And also, I think Loadsman's using McCreary tyres. McCreary tyres seem to handle this slick track a little bit better.
Brazier up on the inside of Skip Jackson. It took him a while to do it. Brazier starting to get just a little tired in the cockpit. That's Madsen. He's currently second in car number 29. Paul Lindbergh, the Queenslander, in that beautifully presented red car number 2, but he's running nowhere in this one. Yeah, just keep your eye on Brazier. Next time we get a shot of him, there he goes past our camera on the main straight. He's just starting to get a little offline, rocking and rolling across the circuit, which is fine. He's entitled to be tired.
Yes, indeed, he is entitled to be tired. And I might just go back to the tyres as well. Loadsman's doing well with that McCreary, but the top 3 guys have got their Goodyear Eagle boots working to perfection. So the Goodyear's looking good on the racetrack at the moment.
And Stuart, Gary Brazier, that man on centre screen, is about half a dozen laps away from victory circle. This will be his 3rd national championship victory, and it's only going to be mechanical failure or unforeseen circumstances that stop him from doing exactly that. Likewise, Kerry Madsen, he's pretty safe in 2nd spot at the moment, and likewise again Peter Murphy runs 3rd in car number 4.
Look at the superb way Brazier's driven this racetrack. He goes higher here, but normally if he's got a free lap, he'll run high down in turns 3 and 4 and low on 1 and 2. But his ability to lap cars, and they're all great cars. They're all great drivers that are in this. The 19 drivers are in this race, and he's just doing a superb job. You know, like, people don't like some of these guys starting their races off the front row, but when they can come through and lap the top drivers in the country in such style as Brazier, I'm enjoying this race. This is
Expert comments with enthusiasm from Stuart Telford, the track manager here at the Parramatta Raceway. We've got 2 laps now remaining in this national title for 97, and that man in car number 21 is certainly going to win it, Brazier. He's going to get the prestige, he'll get the acclamation of this huge crowd, and he's going to get the big check too, let me tell you. He comes off turn number 4, the white flag is now on display. There's 1 lap of this venue to run. It's rather appropriate that Gary Brazier cruises up behind the outgoing champion, Todd Wanless from Queensland, in car number 1. He won't have car 1 on his car next time you see him race, because this man here, Gary Brazier, as the crowd goes up, wraps up the national title for 97. What a drive by him. The fireworks erupt around the Parramatta venue. In 2nd spot, Kerry Madsen. 3rd to the checker, Peter Murphy. And that has been a great show, Stuart. A terrific win. No one can take it away from him.
No, sensational drive. He deserves everything, Gary Brazier. His 3rd win. Congratulations to him and all those guys that are up there with him.
Well, thank you for your help. Hope you've enjoyed our exclusive coverage of the Australian Sprint Car title from Parramatta Raceway. Gary Brazier holds the trophy aloft. He'll be proud, so too will his family be. We thank you very much for your company. Bill Warner shakes hands now with Gary Brazier.